Hey guys, Jesse here from Soundesign. Thanks so much for purchasing one of our desks. I'm going to walk you through the install exactly the way I do it, so you're not confused, and got all the parts laid out so you don't have to watch me unbox. And essentially, we're going to go through both the sit-stand version and the A-frame fixed-height version, which is pretty simple. But we got the base here, all the sit-stand base components, and the cables, controller, this and that. The only tools you really need, it's going to be a power drill, Phillips head on it, your measuring tape, knife to cut some stuff open if you need it, and then I use this little hex tool to tighten up these the feet on the base. We'll get to that later, but if you've got a multi-head hex tool, that'll be handy just to get things tight. So start with the desk upside down, whatever length one you have, whatever version. It's all pretty much the same thing. This is a 4U high desk. So I have these little spacers that I've made that are 4U high, just to like give it solid footing. So if you've got if you obviously you don't have those, but if you've got a 4U high desk, you just want to put some books or something underneath the front that's about 8 inches high. Put a blanket or a towel over it so you don't scratch the good surface, but you want to support the front. You can even do 2 books stacks. I do that sometimes, so that you're solid. If you've got a 3U high desk, a little trick with the sit stand, these packaging box is that these just packaging hollow boxes that come in the base are actually pretty close to 3U high, which is like 6 inches roughly. So you got 2 of those in the box. You could just throw them underneath. If you have a 3U high desk, that'll level out the front. 2U high, just about 4 inches of books or whatever, and you're good. So get your desk on the ground, on a blanket. Don't put it on concrete or hardwood floor. Put it on a blanket. Make sure the top is protected and you're solid. You got enough room to work. So just get that sorted, and then we'll take the keyboard tray. So you guys are getting the keyboard tray in some pieces. This is a smaller one, and these are the brackets that we make with the sliders already attached. So what you want to do, first thing you want to do is just attach these brackets to the actual tray itself. So what I do is, you got this little silver slidey piece. You want to get that more toward the front. Now the flange is out. So if you're looking at it, it's essentially like this. You could actually, if you needed to for space, you could flip this onto the other side, and you could have the flange on the inside. If you're really limited on where the legs are or whatever, it is reversible. But generally, this is the way we do it. The way it comes with the flange going out. You got the angle in the front of the whole thing. And so you take it, get the silver thing moved up to the front, and then the groove in there is just gonna lock into this groove back here. I don't know if you can really see this, but you just get it in there. It's a little weird. And it'll click in, and you're good. This is an old desk. This is a demo desk. It's an office desk, so there's holes all over it. It looks crazy, but don't worry about that. It's demo unit. Yours is looking pristine, and this one is looking crazy, but regardless of that, when we get the other side in, same deal. A little unwieldy, but just gonna prop this up. Put this in there. Hear it click in, and you're good. If you ever need to take the tray out just completely, when the slider's all the way back, this tab right here is revealed, but only when it's all the way back, and you just lift it up. Same thing on the other side, and the tray will just pull out, and you can just take it out altogether. And then also, if you notice on the brackets, these are height adjustable. So we invented these and we manufacture them here in LA. These are 1/2-inch increments, so you could actually, if you change your keyboard out, change the height clearance. But you need to take the tray out so that you can get to the other side of these bolts, which is just a Phillips head on the other side. You can just loosen these lock nuts, take them out, and change your height clearance. You might want a typing keyboard in there down the line, or you get a taller keyboard or whatever, but to have that flexibility is really nice. So, first things first, I'm going to install keyboard tray. So, get it on there. Doesn't matter where yet, we're going to square it up. And we might start, I don't know, we'll start doing some, what are they called? Holes for you guys, but we're not there yet. But essentially, I just kind of get a rough, all right, so it's like 17 3/8, 17 3/4, basically 17.5. Pretty close. Then I want to get basically the front of this bracket kind of right behind the round over, a little bit, whatever it is, you just want to match it on both sides. If you end up being right on it, then be right on it on the other one. Or if you're just like, an 1/8 back, you kind of do the same on both. And then in your screw pack that you got, it's marked the cable tray, which are the smaller ones. They're the 5/8 screws, and the keyboard tray are the 10 3/4-inch screws. So we want to grab those, and you can just go right in. Don't be scared. It's cool. Just, hold it down. You can hold it with your left hand if you need to. Might move on you a little bit. That's okay. You just go right in. They're really good screws. Often I'll just get the first one in, kind of just double check that little distance there, just kind of eyeball it. Get it pretty much the same on the other side. You just go right in. And you're good. And it's locked in. And then just fill it out. You can't go through to the other side, don't worry. It's just screw it right in. Same on the other side. So the keyboard tray's in and out a few times. Sometimes it needs to reset in the sliders themselves, but you should be good with that. This is the headphone bar. It just happened to be on there, but yours isn't going to have that, but we can get to that later. You can put it on either side if you ordered one. It just was already there, so don't be confused by that. Okay, so we're gonna get to the bass now. So first thing you want to do is figure out with the crossbars what the orientation is going to be. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is how you actually set this up on the floor is pretty important. So say your wall, say the wall is here that you're on, that you're going to be up against. You want to do it in this orientation, because when you're done putting everything on it, you're going to flip it this way. It's going to flip this way, and so it's going to be facing the correct direction. So then you can just push it against the wall. If you're in a tight space and you do this the wrong way, you might not be able to turn it. So just kind of think about how you put this down, because you are going to flip. Because if you flip it this way, this is going to come flying out. I mean, you could do it that way, but you know, it's just a little forethought is helpful in this case. So the first thing you want to do is think about this crossbar. Essentially, you know, these go together. I don't really recommend doing this on the desk itself. It could scratch it, but just to show you, ultimately, this is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to look with the bar closer to the back of the keyboard tray. So it's not going to be this. Right. Not going to be like this, because we want to make as much space this way as possible for all the other stuff that's got to go back there. So crossbar part is closer to the keyboard tray. That's how it's going to be. So want to keep these separate. I kind of just lay them out here visually, so I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then first thing I want to do, get these little side arms in there, so they go into this groove. So these tabs just go right into this groove. Sometimes it's a little like they're bent, or they don't really go in, they're not going in hard, and you can just literally, like, I just do this on the ground. If I need to just get them in there and make an adjustment, that's okay. But essentially, think about it. You can position this in any number of ways, but both of these tabs have to be inside here. You can't have one out like this, or it's going to compromise the strength of the whole thing. So what I do is I just put it in maybe like an inch or so in from the back. And the back meaning, I don't want it like this. That's too far back. Like this piece, this tab, in from here, like an inch, half inch, whatever. That's going to be something like that, right? Because I want maximum amount of this going forward, just for strength and stability, what have you. So something like that, roughly. Do the same thing on the other side. Send, slide in really easy. Same thing, this back like half inch, something like that. And then we want to get the foot, and you want to get the foot, the right foot, because there's a right and a left, essentially. You know, with the longer part of the foot going toward the desk, the front of the desk. And so we just put it in here, and then, where's this thing? Yeah. You got these plastic, weird trapezoid things, and then these are the covers. So if you want to come around the side, yeah. So with this guy, the trapezoid shaped part goes toward the front, because that's what this is going to go in. And this just covers it and snaps in. But you want to make sure this is pushed all the way to the back wall. You don't want it here, because it's not going to, this thing isn't going to line up in the tabs right. Just all the way to the back. Let it sit there. This has little tabs to stop it. Then you know you're in the right spot, and just literally just push it down and it snaps in. All right, you know you're in. So again, make sure this is in the back. This hole is opened up. You take your weird piece, and this is a little tricky. but you put it in at an angle. It's like kind of sits there like that. And then I use my heel. You want to go in at like a 45-degree angle with pressure to snap it into place. But I also hold the top of the foot as pull on it as a counter. So I just literally just go like this. Boom. And it takes a good amount of force with the foot, and also I pull on it, and it's a little weird. If you can't get it, just keep trying. Sometimes it's a tight fit, or it can be a little frustrating, but don't do it barefoot. Do it with shoes on. Just have a solid foot, and you'll get it eventually. So that's in there. That's locked in place. That's part of the design of these bases. It's this kick and click or whatever it's called. Really fast, put it together in literally like 5 minutes, versus some of these other base manufacturers with bolts and all this stuff. You can sit there for an hour trying to figure it out. So get the other one in there. Get this piece. Push it back. Boom. This guy in front. 45, heel, boom, they're in. Okay. So now, what I do is I'll take one side, because they're pretty heavy. And you can do this one guy, one woman, on their own, and then you're gonna need a partner to flip it over. But I do all this like by myself when I do an install. So, put it down here. You gotta get the crossbars, into each other here, just like. And I kind of lift it a little bit just so I'm not sliding on the back of the desk. And then the positioning of this is really, it's kind of arbitrary. It's sort of whatever you think, but roughly what I do is, from the edge to, the first thing I'll look at is like, okay, like me personally, I mean, you could do it out here if you wanted to. It's okay. This base will spread as long as these crossbars are interwoven or interlocked or whatever, it's strong. So you could push it out wide if you wanted to, for more leg room or whatever. I like the look personally of, it pulled in, like, this is 8 inches, it's pretty cool. It's kind of in the middle of the speaker top where all the speaker weight is on, something like that. But let's even say 7 inches. So as a rough, just getting it kind of squared up roughly, I'll be like, okay, 7, go over here, tap it, okay, that's 7, 1, kind of go double check. Sometimes if you tap that one side, it might move on the other, but it's still pretty good. And then I look at it, maybe John, like, go from the side. So I look at it from the side and get an idea of where I'm at, and then I measure from the back to this to the back edge, and make sure you're at the same point. So say it's here. This is the 9.5. This one. This is a 1/2 inch off. So yeah, 9.5. Okay, this is still 7. Yeah, and so now it's square enough. But now I'll take a look. In like, the first thing I'm going to look at is how far forward is this foot in comparison to the front of the desk, and then this back foot in comparison to the back of the desk. And, you've got the shelf hanging off a few inches too. So you could scoot it back a little bit. Most of the weight is going to be on the back with speakers and rack gear and whatever else. So, maybe a 1/2 inch or something. I'll go to 9. Just for. So, I mean, that feels pretty good. Something like that. So iMover in their packaging, they've got all these little screws. These are the ones that they provide for locking this down into the desk itself. And same deal, you know, don't be afraid, just go right into the desk with these guys. Cool. I usually just start with the corners. Just so it doesn't move on me accidentally. Let's grab it. I'll do all four. Let's get this corner. Okay. And then go across the oh, I gotta finish these. Go across the crossbar. There's one in here, in this corner. Push this out so you can see better. Yeah, you don't even need pilot holes or anything. You can just go straight in. All right, so that's locked in. Now we're going to grab the brain electronic or whatever controller, and this is your Bluetooth signal, whatever, and it goes into one of the phone slots. The other one is going to be for the paddle controller, but we don't have to worry about that right now. Also in the screw set, you got some super long ones and some medium ones. So the super long guys are for this. I'm gonna go through. We're gonna just put it right here in the middle. The medium ones are for the paddle controller itself. We'll get to that once we flip the desk over. So just kind of put those to the side. So this guy, generally just pretty much just put it in the center. It doesn't really matter which side you go because the cables are all long enough to, you know, if you decide the paddle controller you want on the left, it's fine. It could be on the right. It's all going to reach. Doesn't really matter. So I just center it. Just go right in. And then take your cables. You got two of these identical cables. And go in here. Into the box. Same thing over here. Here. And then another cool little hack is that on the underside of this crossbar, you can feel it with your fingers. There's like a little lip, and this cable can hide in there. You'll feel it with your fingers. It just kind of catches it. It can just like live under there. You don't need any cable ties or anything. It's gonna sit there, which is cool. So yeah, so underneath here, all your extra length just tuck under and hide. And it's just nice and clean. Okay, so last bit is the cable management tray. So probably got this one, it's 46 incher. And what I do is grab the 5/8 smaller screws and lay them out. And then, John, it might be easier from this to see down this line. Basically, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, try to center. If you have a center, this hole is dead center as an eye reference. You could maybe, there might be a hole in your desk, a pass-through hole that's dead center that you could line it up with. Or I can see there's a center post here, which I know is dead center, so I could visually kind of do it like that. Or if you're really OCD and you need this perfect, you could just measure from, you know, this side to here, 11 3/8. You can do it here, 11 1/4, and then you know you're centered, but you know, it's the back of the desk. No one's really looking back here. But essentially what I do is kind of keep it there, and I want to go flush to this, you know, essentially something like that. You could push it out if you really wanted to, because this could be more with this, but I just like to keep it kind of here. And the longer side is facing out, so the opening, the lip or whatever is facing the back. So what I do is it's a little tricky with one person and one-handed, but I hold it. I get my screw in here. You might want to pre-drill a hole to help you. This is a little tricky with one person. If you've got a friend there, that's cool. But I kind of look down this edge just to double check myself, because this thing is going to move around when you're like trying to do everything I'm doing right now. So I can just see it. I can just see that it's really close to this edge, and I just get one in on this end, and then I go down to the other side, and I still do the same thing. I just check it just with one eye and make sure it's your right eye over it, you know, and then you can really just see the line with one eye. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, driving for perfection, gentlemen. So get these in, and these aluminum, these awesome long ass cable trays, which don't exist, so I had to manufacture them myself, and they're awesome. So all your power strips and cabling and whatnot can live in there. Also, this hole in the middle is great for your USB cable to go to your controller. It can come through and then up into your computer or whatever. And you got two outputs here if you need to drop down and go to the wall or whatever, or you go out the side. And, you know, it's great to have this so that your cables are clean and you don't have, you know, 100 cables hanging off the back of the desk. And especially if it's going up and down, it's just cable management is a thing of beauty when it's done right. Okay, so lastly, right. So these legs, as great as they are, sometimes if you look at it straight up and down, this one is actually straight, miraculously enough. But sometimes actually most of the time, this leg is just a hair off. Like you can look at it, and I look at this line, and compared to this down here, you can just see it when you're right over it. And often it's just barely off. But regardless of that, even if it's straight like this, you got to tighten these bolts, because for whatever reason, they come from the factory and they're not as tight as they should be, right? So like how much I just tightened it. And this is straight out of the box. you know, so, and these could get loose over time. So tighten the shit out of these just as hard as you can. Go over here. Yeah, see, this is off. I can see this. This is like a couple degrees turning inward. So I just loosen all of them. And then I just tap it with one eye again in reference to that bottom line. I can just see it. It doesn't, again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's just better than how it came, you know? That's like pretty close. And so trick with this is don't go crazy on the first one because it's going to move it a little bit. So I just go like light on each one, kind of lock it in. And then I go back and go as hard as I can. You don't want these coming undone over the years. Okay, so these are leveler feet, just so you know. You can get like an inch or no, probably a half inch of, you know, when your floor is uneven or whatever. Once you get it upright, you can do some leveling. Also, FYI, you might not know it, but you can order casters and you can put them in. They just literally unscrew this. Caster goes in and your whole thing could be easily movable, which could be really valuable for you guys that need to get behind the desk and like change stuff out with your outboard gear or what have you. And, you know, it's difficult to move a whole desk to get behind it if you don't have casters on. These are $85. They're made by iMover. They're great. So that's just something to think about if you need mobility on this whole thing. It's pretty great. I have them at home and it's super helpful. Okay. So yeah, we're ready to flip it and we might need to set up the camera. You know, actually, let me talk about this A-frame base before. So you either got the sit stand base or you got the A-frame base. And this is put together. So I wasn't going to bother like showing you each, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty simple. You've got your two sides and literally two crossbars. The crossbars just bolt in with these bolts. You just need, you know, I have that, where's that wrench? Just had it in my mind. Oh, here it is in my pocket, yeah. So, you know, literally you can just get this wrench. This is a 1/2 inch and you can just tighten them up, each one. Each crossbar that just has the same ones. It comes in your pack with the rest of it. And, you know, I do this upside down, generally on the ground. It's just easier to do it. This, especially with the middle crossbar one. These are also leveler feet, which is nice. But so just the only thing to note here is when you're putting this together, do the bottom one first, and you'll see that this middle crossbar has the holes in it, and you want to make sure that the bigger hole, like this, is facing up because that's what you want to get your drill head into, because on the other side, it's just small. It's just a small hole. So you just want to make sure the bigger opening is on the bottom so that you screw up into it. The screws, yeah, that came with the base are fine, and yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you need to put this on there, just put this whole thing together and just stick it on top. Just imagine that this sit stand base isn't there, and that it's just going to fit beautifully on top, and then you can just square it up and visualize it and just screw it in, and you're good to go. Okay, guys, so ready to flip. Grab a friend. Do an idiot check. I always do, just to make sure there's no like loose screws or stuff around. I've had scratches before. It sucks. So just kind of make sure that it's clean. And what we're gonna do is flip it this way. This one's a little trickier just because this is an angled desk, so you've got these sharp corners. And if it's a straight desk, it's structurally more sound where you could literally just roll it back and grab the legs, as I'll show you in a second, and flip it up. This one's a little more fragile just because if you do flip it up, it's just going to be right on this point, so not ideal. But grab a friend, someone with some strength, and it's only going to be on that point for a second. We're going to flip it up. It's really not that big of a deal. It should be fine, but essentially, I want to just tilt it back, and I grab a leg. We're going to get this back leg just on the ground. That's the idea. Grab something on the front, and then just kind of lift it up. Get this leg, boom, there, and then you lift it. Yeah, it's not that bad. You just need two people. Move your spacers out of the way. And maybe we'll move it back in place. Get your blankets off the ground, whatever. And you're gonna want, next step is, yeah, you can probably grab it. Is gonna plug it in. We're gonna decide where the paddle controller is gonna go. You can decide that. You can go either on the right or left, depending. I already have this headphone bar here, so I'm gonna put on the right. Plus, I'm a righty, so it just makes sense for me to do that. So first, I'm gonna show you how I do this. So these are these cable like ties or whatever that come with the base. John, if you come under here, I'll show you my little trick. Basically, I'm gonna want to put, what you want to do with this is it's a little funky, but this fits. You can kind of see it only fits in really one way, just like this, and that's what the paddle is going to be. Points down, so we can mount it wherever you want. Be over here, here, here. You're not going to want to put it in here. It's going to get in the way of keyboard. So somewhere over here or somewhere over there. And then this is going to go into the back. But what I do is I take one of these and I put it right on the inside of this arm. You can probably see it from here. Put it right in here. You can see that. So it's right on the inside of this arm. I push it in for like 5-10 seconds just so it like adheres a little better. It sticks because these things just notoriously come off like in a couple of years. But I just give it a little pressure, and that's going to be where this line goes through, and then we're going to connect it to the back in a minute. So essentially, I'm just going to screw this up first. You take those medium length screws that we set aside earlier, and you got this thing, and then got two holes. You put one in. I'm going to figure out the spot that I want it. I kind of want it, right butting up to the side of this bracket actually, and you want it like back. I don't want to see these things. I just want to set it back a little bit. I don't want it back here. Just going to find that right up on there, edge kind of thing. I just hold it. I get my screw ready. Get one in. And then I just want to make sure it's square, because it can easily just kind of turn on you, but I just kind of I just look at it, try and hold it, get the second one in, just trying to go slow. And it's locked in. Then I want to go and connect this underneath. So maybe John, go from the back side. I'm going to go underneath. So I take a bunch of these other little cable guys. Get ready. And then I connect to that one that we put in earlier on the inside of that arm. and then I bring it over here to the back in this crossbar in the back of the little lip where those other cables were from before. And I just kind of run it in there. And this just plugs in right next to the Bluetooth signal generator, whatever the hell that thing is. And then I just tuck in the excess just behind the crossbar lip. And it just lives in there and it's cool. It's not going anywhere. It's great. And then while I'm down here, I often do this where I take these extra ones and I put them on this crossbar and from the back of the keyboard, because, you know, who knows where the cables are coming out of it. It's going to either be probably on the left or right side. Occasionally there's stuff in the middle, but, you know, I don't know. So I'll just give you one here or give yourself one there. Press it in. Put one over here on this side too. And then since you have so many of them, I just put one in the middle. So you just never know. Could be handy down the line. You just never know. So that way, like your USB, wherever it's coming out of your MIDI controller, it's over here, you know, so it's not looping down and coming to this middle, you know, maybe you have it going straight to the middle and through, or over here and over, you know, just prevent that lag that's going to be there, like when you're pushed out. So I just do that. It's easy. And then we're going to plug in your main power. You know, figure out where in the wall you want it, but essentially there's that hole in the middle of this, and I'm just going to go feed this through it. Put it into the box, right? And then depending on where your outlets are in the wall, you could go out this way, you could go out that way. You could, this is pretty long, so sometimes I just put these together, like say the outlet, like say this is right on the wall right here, and like you don't need all this taking up the tray. Maybe you only need something like this, right? And I'll just wrap this up, and it can just live in here. You know, just have something like that. It goes up and down. So in this case, now I'm just gonna plug it into here. And we're gonna go out. Test it. Okay guys, so you plugged in and this is just flashing green or whatever. Sometimes it says initialize, and what all you gotta do is just hold it down. Yeah, see it says initialize. You just hold it down for a few seconds and then the numbers come up. The numbers are how many inches off the ground you are. This is the paddle control. So I'm gonna set this and see if this will connect. Okay, so I wasn't sure if this would connect because I'm already connected to my one at home. So underneath here, underneath the paddle, there's 3 buttons, and the left one is this bell. You're not going to worry about it. It's like a health monitor thing with the app, and tell you to stand if you've been sitting for hours or whatever. Don't worry about it. The app actually don't even use the app. Essentially, after we're done with this setup, but I'm going to show you in a minute. So the middle button is just the Bluetooth button. That's all we had to do when you get the app going. The app is called Desk Control. You got to go to the App Store. It's this pale blue looking background, and it's made by Lineac. And download that. Sorry, I should have said that when we first started. Download that. You're going to go to a setup. It's going to say searching for desks or something like that. And then you just hold down the Bluetooth button, your phone, it's going to see it. It's going to say pair to desk. You say yes. And then it goes through a few seconds and it says paired. And this is where we are today, where we are now. So the button on the right is the star, which is just cycles through the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are your 4 height presets that you can set. So before we get to setting the heights, in the app, this is really super important. You go to more, and this is the only thing you need to do. You go to automatic drive, and it's off. It's default is off. It's like a liability thing. So you just want to set it to go automatic, and it says yes, I accept like the terms or whatever. Same thing for down. Yes, I accept. Okay, and that's it. You can put the app away. Now, with the paddle, you can manually just up and down if you want to fine tune it. Now, I'm going to go grab my chair. What I would do is I'm going to set number 1 as my sitting and number 2 as standing. If you have three, with the automatic up and down, it's going to stop at each number. So it doesn't really make sense to have 3. It's going to be super annoying. So trust me on this. Number 1 is sitting, number 2 is standing. And then if there's an in-betweener, like you're sitting and you want to play keys, and this is in your knees and you just not comfortable, I just manually just bump it up an inch or something, and then like I have leg space and playing, and it's cool. So for me, first thing you want to do is just figure out like a basic work height that works for you, and everybody's different. Everyone's chair, how tall you are, whatever feels good, but something probably 29 to 32 is going to be, 30 is like normal desktop height, or maybe 31, something like that. But say this feels good. So what you do is you hit your button, it cycles around the numbers, go to number 1, let it go, hold it in again. It flashes, keep holding until it's done flashing, and then that's saved as number 1. Now we're going to figure out standing position. That feels good. Probably something 40 to 45 is like normal for people, depending on your speakers, how high, what feels good, like, et cetera, when you want to play, whatever. This is pretty good for me. Probably go a little hair lower or something like that. So say I like that. I'm going to go around to 2. Hold it in again, press it in, flashes, done flashing. So now theoretically, 1 and 2 are saved, and to move between them automatically, you double tap down to go from 2 to 1, and double tap up to go from sitting to standing, 1 to 2. And the double tap is like dink, dink, like 8th notes. It's a pretty specific rhythm. If you're a little off, sometimes it doesn't work, but essentially something like dink. And now it's just going to stop at 1 where we saved before. I'm like, okay, I want to sit. And, we are. And then, oh, yeah, I'm sitting for hours. I want to stand. Boom, boom, up. And we've got. So this desk, this has some things going on that you don't have. Like there's some options. It's a door that goes into the racks. There's rack drawers. I actually have one at home. It's like a 2U drawer. It's pretty cool. I have it on top half of a 4U, so I can have like pencils, pens, and just whatnot in there, and then slide papers and stuff underneath. This is something I was experimenting with. It's just a slide out drawer. I thought I'd put a drum machine on it. Do something like that. But it's a little weird because it's a little too long for the rack, but regardless, it's interesting. And then this is just center post storage underneath. You've got your pass-through holes in the back of each rack. These are going to drop your cables down right onto the cable management tray, and keep everything tidy. Yeah. I'd say this is pretty good stuff to clean off the surface if you have one of these styles. You can get this at Home Depot. Just spray it, buff it out, gives it a nice shine, kind of cleans off some stuff. Yeah, I don't know what else there is. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, thanks so much again for purchasing one of these desks. Our mission is to just, make beautiful, functional music studio furniture for you guys to be inspired and make art and push more music and art out into the world. That's the whole idea. So thank you again, and talk to you soon.